I'd like to introduce you all to owner and designer at Closet Rehab over in Lawrenceville, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's been in business, is it almost 6 years now or more?
It's actually been around 3.5 now.
Oh, 3.5 now. Sorry about that. The design philosophy of Closet Rehab is maximalist statements for the minimalist closet, and it was featured in CBS News. So for this super fun concept, so please welcome Erica. Welcome, Erica.
Hi, thank you so much.
And so can you tell us a little bit about your background before Closet Rehab? Did you have a regular job, a traditional career before starting your business?
I love that. A regular job. Like what's regular?
A 9 to 5.
I know. Yeah. So I did have a traditional corporate job, 9 to 5, if you will, although those are never 9 to 5. So yeah, so I actually worked at the largest privately held marketing company in the country when I was first hired on in 2005, right out of school. And they had just acquired business, like working with the General Motors account. So it was predominantly automotive marketing. I was on the General Motors account when I was first hired on the sales team. They had an inside sales team. So not that I didn't enjoy sales, I sell now. That's what I do. I don't look at it as sales, but I quickly moved over to the account side and spent 11 years with that company up until I put in my 6-month notice back in, late 2015.
That was a very long notice.
Yeah. I gave them the opportunity to keep me under in that time frame so that I could train my replacement, just because of the fact that I had 24 people that were reporting to me. And the project that I was heading up it started as just me. So the company had a very entrepreneurial spirit because of how it started and who was running it. Started from nothing, as kind of most companies do, right? And I was able to essentially build a company within a company. So was able to do all of the research, build things, using my mind and my skills in terms of putting together different direct marketing campaigns and direct marketing lists that our sales team could sell to benefit the dealers on the sales and the service side. First and foremost for General Motors, and then that spread out to the rest of the OEMs, so the rest of the manufacturers. So yeah, it was like a $365,000 a year project. That's what it was generating the first year that I took over. We were probably doing about 8 to 10 projects a month, which was super minimal. And by the time I left, I was again managing 24 people. We had all of the OEMs were running through the team. And we were responsible for about $40 million of revenue. And we were mailing about 1,200 campaigns a month and millions of direct mail pieces that most people have probably received in their mailbox. So yeah.
That reminds me of my own background in financial services. When you see banking direct mails in your mailbox, that's how I was asked.
You're welcome. Right?
Yes. You're welcome for those offers.
Yes. They work. They work.
They do work. But so that's to say that you're used to being busy. And I think part of the misconception of why I thought you were in business for 6 years is because when we met, despite the pandemic, your business was doing well right away. You had really high sales right away. Do you attribute that to being used to marketing, being used to selling, being used to sales and interfacing with people? Like, where do you attribute that success right off the bat?
Yeah, honestly, I think to me, sales, it's not the hard sell. And my father is a salesman. So I'm cut from that cloth, but also just watching him and just interactions with people to understand who people are, what they're looking for, and how you can help them. The person who solves the problem the best typically gets rewarded the most. Yeah. And that usually comes in the realm of financially. As a business owner or entrepreneur or creative, however you want to look at it, success means something different. Just on a human level, it means something different for everybody. So for me, starting a business first was more about the freedom. I'm going to air quotes. I do feel like I have a lot of freedom because of what I'm able to do. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to share my passion and my purpose with people, because this is what I truly love doing and connecting with people over fashion. So I don't look at it as sales. I'm probably honestly one of like the worst salespeople because no, you're not going to get that. This isn't for you, or no, this isn't the right color, or no, you've already bought too many of these. Let's do something different. But at the end of the day, people want what they want. And so it's so much about the interaction, and people just want to be heard. You know, they want to be heard, they want to be seen. And I think because of the level of customization that I offer in the store, they're able to walk out with something that they really are going to enjoy and wear. And then on top of it, just, you know, all the things that we end up talking about, life and where they're from and what they're doing and what they're going through. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human and just wanting to connect. So
It sounds like you had a very rewarding and exciting and fun corporate experience. You were very successful at it. You had your team, you had the day to day. It seemed like every day there was something wild happening. The deliverables were, bam,
yeah.
bam, bam. It wasn't boring. So to leave something that you liked to jump onto something you might like better, but had an immeasurable amount of risk and a lot of unknowns. What inspired you to even do that in the first place?
Oh, okay. I will share with you. So the bigger picture of I guess like the story, what I refer to as my eat, pray, love moment, which is kind of a funny joke to me that I tell people in the store. If anyone has ever seen the movie, it might happen in sort of a different way, but I was going through a divorce in 2015 to 2016. I had given that 6-month notice at my corporate job. So the wheels were already kind of in motion that I was going to, open myself up to new experiences and new things and just see what was going to happen. I don't advise that. Like, I did not have a plan. Everything thankfully is working out. Like, I know I have the work ethic and the thought process to kind of back it up, but it just
Why not do a new business at the same time as you're going through a divorce?
yeah, so that I had already had the name Closet Rehab, like, was already created at that point in time, actually a couple years earlier. And I was like reselling things out of my closet, and Poshmark it was very new, but I was using different platforms to sell. And I didn't take it any further. And then going through the divorce, that whole thing, ended up selling my house. And then told my parents that I was going to like travel the country for a little over 100 days and see ya in like August. So it was about a 6-month time frame that all of that happened. And my boss at the time, one of the best bosses that I've had, because I had pretty much a new boss every single year while I was at this company, because the scale of the team that I was creating and just the nature of the beast, if you will, like nobody really knew what to do with us, because we were just kind of our own thing. So yeah, the boss that I ended up having towards the end, about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, was awesome. And he took me out to dinner to try to talk me off the proverbial ledge and was like, most people don't do what you're doing in a lifetime, let alone 6 months. And I just sat down my fork and knife, folded my hands, and was like, you know what? I'm not most people. So I'm going to be leaving. If I can build a $40 million a year business for somebody else in 10 and a half, 11 years, I'm pretty sure I can figure out 6 figures for myself. Famous last words. So yeah, so fast forward to then, once I moved to Pittsburgh, end of 2016, I threw myself into like an entrepreneurial crash course. It was just like reading all of these books, putting myself through different like life coaching courses and classes, and had also done therapy prior to that, because like there were some things that I probably needed to heal from, and divorce and all of that, things that I was now in hindsight like running from, but you can't run away from your problems, can't run away from yourself. So those things were all still waiting for me once I finally got settled. So sort of dealing with that emotional mental side at the same time, as I was like, okay, how am I going to generate an income if I'm not wanting to go back to a 9 to 5? And, what does it look like going forward? So that's where, I started selling on Poshmark and was kind of in that reseller community, but I was curating new things, purchasing wholesale. Most of it ended up being accessories because I've always loved accessories since I was little. So it then began to snowball kind of on both sides. Like the accessories I was really excited about. And it's like, oh, do more of what you love, right? But at the same time, like this reselling and closet cleanouts and helping people kind of purge things in their life that were no longer serving them because of a death in the family or like, loved one, disease, something happened, change in life, divorce, like, kind of the 3Ds. So it's a very personal space to go into somebody's closet or home and help them to purge. And so there was a lot of the things that I had gone through and or was still going through were very helpful in this process and conversation with these people. But I had to ask myself in I think it was a 2017, spring, summer. Okay, I have an entire 1,500 square foot apartment full of everybody else's stuff, including my own apartment, that then had another 800 pounds of things. Why are they sitting here? Why am I accumulating these things? And I'm not wanting to deal with them. I would rather, and I'm still reaching for the accessories every time. And that's what I'm most excited about. So it's okay, take a look at ourselves. I'm repeating another pattern and continuing to do things that I'm not 100% excited about. What is the harm in saying no? And so the minute I said no, I shipped everything off, cleared the apartment out, got everything squared away with the customers I was working with, met the gal that I then ended up sharing a space, a shared retail space with in Sewickley. We opened late 2019, August 2019. So roughly 6 months before the pandemic. And of course, fourth quarter, woo, it's great. Fourth quarter sales, fantastic. And then January, February, and then it was March 15th, we had to close down for 2 solid months. And it was those feelings of what I distinctly remember, because we didn't know what was going on. It was, 2 weeks. Okay, cool. Happy spring break. I got, and then it kept dragging on. And those feelings of, I'm
turned into years.
I'm never going to make money ever again. It was that was what I kept telling myself because everything was so unknown. And although I kind of thrive in the unknown, that was an unknown that we truly have control over nothing, but that was out of anybody's control. So
it was way too long. It was dragging on for way too long.
Yeah, it was scary on a whole different level, especially as a new business owner. This could take me out. Thankfully, it didn't. And accessories were a feel-good purchase for people. So, we had our fair share of it gets stuck in my mask or, whatever. But that's when I started to bring on other types of accessories. So Apple Watch bands, mix and match purses with bag straps. So that is what started to escalate. What more can I offer outside of just the, product category of earrings? And then how can I get really good at what I'm already doing and then start designing? So it just kind of snowballed from there. I wanted to stay niche with acrylic, which is the material that I work with. And what else can we offer in that? And how can we make it unique and special, but also as personable as possible and custom as possible to that person without them having to pay extra for it?
So you're still focused on the need, because when the needs change, right, you went from earrings to watch bands and other things that don't interfere with a mask, for example.
Right.
You were always listening to the customer.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, as a creative person, trust me, all I want to do sometimes is sit in a room and make earrings and not talk to people. But there's a fine balance between being a business owner and actually creating the product to then you have to sell the product at some point. And it's a balance. There's also a balance between your own ego as a creative person and wanting to do what you want to do just because you want to do it. Nobody wants to buy it at the end of the day. It's a waste of time, money, resources, all of it. So you have to humble yourself really quickly. And, there's still some things that you can test and say, okay, as a designer or as a curator or whatever, here's what I want to bring in. So I always test things to see how it's going to go. And if it's not received by the customer here, okay, is it being received elsewhere? Are people buying it online? What countries am I shipping to? Am I shipping, here, overseas? And if it's not received, then okay, little mini loss and just move on. So yeah, it's about the customer. It's not about me. So.
Not about you and the greatest design you've ever created.
That'd be the biggest flop.
Yeah.
It's usually the things that I've talked about this with other designers too. Like it's usually the things that you like the least that you're just not excited about. You're like, oh, whatever, just put it out. And people are like, oh, I love this. And you're like, of course you do. Like, it's just, yeah, it happens. It's just funny. So yeah.
You seem to have, like, from the day we met, I always thought, wow, she has an element of this just fearlessness to her.
It might be a little bit of naiveness. I don't know. Fearless, naive. I think I'll take that as a compliment for sure.
I'll give you an example. A lot of entrepreneurs, when I start, you participated in Bridgeway's Next Leap program.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get to that, second to the last session, when I bring out that spreadsheet and I start asking you guys, what does your cash flow look like? And the moment I open that giant spreadsheet and start getting the cohort working on all of your numbers so that you can see, the math, will the business be sustainable? Will it work? Yada, yada. And some of the cohort members won't necessarily have everything in place just yet, right?
Yeah.
I see fear and anxiety in people's faces.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, here's what I got. Let's get through this. And I'm like, okay, that you may be anxious. You may have had feelings about your own numbers, but you were like, here's what I got. Let's chug through it. You may have had fear, but you were willing to just go through it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll be totally transparent because I haven't really shared much of this on like a personal or business aspect, right? But I think like it's here and we're in this conversation right now and I'm 1,000% honest and want to share about it. I haven't done it on my social media because it just like, kind of comes out of left field, I feel like. But finances for me was something that I needed to master. I've always been pretty good at making money, but the actual money management on the personal and professional side, like as a business owner, is a whole nother level of trust within yourself.
Yeah.
And I went into the program knowing that was the main reason I was there. I wanted to work on it. I didn't want to lose my business because of myself.
Right. You didn't want to sell yourself short. Like if this was something that was in your control, you didn't want to lose the business because of something that you could have controlled.
Right. And it usually is just discipline and obedience financially, understanding where the money's going. And that's where then, this past handful of months through working with Entrepreneurs Forever, which has been an introduction that came out of that Next Leap program, which I'm so thankful for, has been the introduction to Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First, which I want to like shout it from the rooftops, the mountaintops, everything. Like it gets you off that hamster wheel as a business owner of just feeling like all the money's coming in and all you're doing is paying bills to everything and replenishing inventory. And, I wasn't like paying myself properly because I wanted to put everything back into the business. And it's just a simple, I thought it had to be like traditional accounting. My joke, I don't do math before or after 5. It's like, but a business owner, you have to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a handle on the numbers, regardless of if, I have a bookkeeper that does my numbers for me. And like we talk about the profit and loss every month and where things are at and cash flow and all the things. But Mike Michalowicz in his book, it's like, let's be honest, as a business owner and entrepreneur, your idea of like looking at the numbers is you're checking your bank balance. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's writing this about me. Like you're in my brain. And also a sense of relief of like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I mean, people just downright crying tears of joy of being able to implement this profit first model. It's just a simple breakdown of percentages, right? You have 100% of a pie. And how do we break that down? 15% for taxes, anywhere from, 15 to 30% for taxes, anywhere from 30% to 50% for owner draw. And I'm like, I was not paying myself that. I was like, you're the last one to eat. Like the business goes first, you know what I mean? So, and then that 5% profit that you like scrape off, every 2 weeks, every month, however you want to like do it. But the finances, the fear for me that you probably saw on my face was not a lack of having the numbers. I had the numbers and the data to show and to share. I felt a sense of fear around like the almost like the nakedness or being exposed.
I
For
see.
there's like a sense of almost like that imposter syndrome kind of feeling that comes up being a business owner and like as you're scaling to the next level. But when you're looking at the numbers, regardless of what it looks like is going on in the store, the numbers always tell the story. And that's the same thing with marketing. Like the numbers always tell the story. Who cares how good it looks? Like anything can look good on the outside, but what are the numbers saying? And that's where I was like, ooh, like hanging onto my hat, like, okay, this is going to expose who I am and what's really going on. And I have to be willing and ready to look at that, like the hardest look in the mirror, right? But it was something that, because of a lot of events on the personal side that had happened last year, that was a lesson. We talked about lessons in mirrors. I'm sure we'll get into that later in our conversation. It was kind of a little teaser before we hopped on the call. But, everything's a lesson in a mirror. And there were a lot of lessons that I had to learn last year to raise the basement on the valleys of what I kept being faced with. And I mean, for me as a Christian, like God's going to take you back to those lessons and they're going to get harder every single time until you get it. So
until you address it.
Yeah.
Happening. Yeah.
Exactly. So it now, gosh, almost a year later feels so freeing. I still have work to do. I am not perfect. I am perfectly imperfect. We all are, but there's more of a sense of freedom now from the financial perspective that I understand and feel confident in myself financially from a business perspective, and then I'm actually paying myself a paycheck. Like it's amazing.
Oh, congratulations.
Like your self-worth goes up when you're like, oh, okay, like I'm no longer handcuffed and at the mercy of my business, this like Frankenstein that we've created, you know what I mean? That's like chasing after you. You're like, I just want to like eat food and like sleep and shower, It's like very basic. It's very basic at this point. My gosh, what a difference a year makes. What a difference a year makes. And just like the help and support of, yourself, like just the whole program with Next Sleep and all the different resources that are available. And it's hard. I mean, it's not easy or else everyone would be doing it. Business ownership is not for the faint of heart. It's not, but it's worth it.
You have to be willing to be exposed. And full caveat, like the mentors are not here to judge. We want to see the numbers. We want to see everything that's going on in the business so we can advise properly.
Yeah. And it is such I'm so glad you said that. Like it is such a judgment-free space because I feel like I know I spend a lot of time beating myself up. Yeah. It's like we're so fearful to get that from somebody else, but you guys you're so supportive and there to help. And there were a lot of tears on my part. I'm sure there were on other people's. I know I cried on calls and one-on-one. I cried before I started the program. I cried during the program. I think I might have cried on a group call. I'm sure I cried in person. Like there was a lot of crying last year, a lot of crying. The blood, sweat, and tears is a real thing.
But what's allowed you, I think, to win, right, is your mindset. The willingness to work through things and not give up, right? You were willing to be uncomfortable to get through the steps and the hurdles and the challenges that you need to get through. So the win is yours. You did it. You're the one who we're the mouth. we're the mouth in the Excel files, but you're the work.
Yeah. Here's what you got to do. Either step up to the plate or don't. The choice is yours. I mean, and if you want to keep your business bad enough and actually really, like you guys say, get under the hood and take a look at what needs to be fixed, it's there if you want it to be.
Speaking of the lessons, so now that you've pretty much gotten a handle of what needs to happen financially, etc., there's still challenges, obviously. Mm-hmm. The pandemic couldn't break you. Inflation couldn't break you.
It's been crazy.
Yeah. Divorce couldn't break you.
Yeah. Breakups, all the things. Yeah.
Breakups couldn't break you. Yeah. So I'm wondering if the labor market is posing a challenge at the moment because it's been very, very tough for smaller businesses to compete in the job market. How has that journey been for you now that you're growing?
Yeah, so it's Great timing. I'm at the point where like I've outsourced what I can in terms of like having a contractor for different things. So social media is one of those. And now in order to, well, social media and like bookkeeping, right? Like those things I will just continue to like afford like for the business, because it's not where I want to spend my time. It's not the best use of my time as a business owner. So yeah, the next thing really is bringing people on, a sales associate. So predominantly customer interaction. It's been rough so far. And I take full ownership of why it's not been going great.
Is it the hiring process? Is there one specific area where it's been more challenging?
So figuring out, it's funny because we've started talking about this in the Entrepreneurs Forever group, right? And one of the guys that led the conversation the other week was like, look, I'm going to tell you guys, 80% of anyone's success that you're going to bring on is up to you as the business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you bring people on, any skill, like, or anything they need to learn in the store can be taught, right? And that's up to us to teach them properly, to guarantee that success as much as possible. But what is the personality? What are the values, the morals, the traits, like the things that person possesses? It's kind of like dating. Like, funny how that happens, right? Like there's certain qualities within a person that they just have that you can't teach, that you're looking for to fill a certain role. That is like a portion of like everything that I, Erica as the business owner am handling, because you just have to. There's nobody else to do it. So once I can like chunk off these like pieces that I need help with to free up more of my time to focus on like higher level, business activities from like a PR and marketing standpoint and, growth, development, then it's me actually finding the right places to look for the right people for that role. So I'm not going to say I know that. It's like, I understand that. I know are two of the worst words a business owner can use, because we don't know everything. And it's going through the process at this point and just continuing to talk to people and until we get the right one. And I think too, with like,
it's hard to replicate yourself.
Oh, it is. And there's one of the lessons that I learned in the business world. My boss said to me, he was like, you can't expect everyone to work up to your level, out of what I had created in my corporate job and out of what I've created here. We
all do things
lower my expectations in a way.
Yeah,
we all do things differently. And it's not to like talk down on someone at all. Like everybody brings something different to the table. And that's what I'm excited about, is like, okay, I know what I'm capable of and what I do and what I bring, but like, mutual benefit here. Like, what talent are you bringing to the company, to the business? Like, what are you really good at? What are your passions? That's immediately what I want to find out, because the thing that you're most passionate about is probably going to be something that you're going to be more set on fire about than anything else. And I want people to want to come here.
How long would you think is the training period for somebody? I guess describe what you're looking for in case somebody's viewing this.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, like someone who's really high energy, somebody who is great at engaging with customers and has a genuine interest in people and getting to know people. So, really personable.
A good eye for fashion and matching things, or looking at what things go together. Is that a requirement?
Yeah, I would say that everyone kind of has their own flair on it. So yeah, I would definitely say like some color knowledge or understanding, doesn't necessarily have to be a stylist. I mean, but some like basic knowledge from like a color standpoint and just basic style. Those are really the main things. Everything else that would come into play at the store are all things that I would end up training on. So,
and you're looking for full-time, part-time?
So currently I'm looking for part-time. It would grow into a full-time role as, we continue to scale and grow the business. So yeah, someone that I can, trust to be in the store. Like once they're trained, to trust to be in the store on their own, because I would not end up being here all the time in order to go out and do different interviews or appearances or meeting with people from a wholesale perspective. So yeah, it's just things that require fortunately, but unfortunately, I'm going to say, because I love being in the store and I love working with customers. But yeah, in order for me to continue out to like go and build those relationships at another level. So there's like the customer building relationships, that then produce that word of mouth for people to come back into the store, but it's, relationships at the next level from like a business perspective, and just that long-term vision that I have for the store and for the brand of what we're, hopefully going to be cooking up in the next, I don't know, 3 to 5 year plan, maybe.
What do you think has made the biggest difference in your success? What's moved the needle?
I'm going to say the biggest thing is focusing on the niche. So for me, it's been accessories only. And then within that, it's acrylic. So down to the material. Here in Lawrenceville, there's a good mix of other boutiques that are here that all have their own flair. Some that are a little bit more, flirty and girly, others that are more streamlined, if you will, or minimalist in a way, right? Timeless. And then, we've got vintage, we've got a boho, we've got all the different things. And I'm not that into clothing, to be quite frank with you. Like, we obviously have to wear clothing, but I've always loved accessories, and I didn't want to bring in clothing just to like bring in more stuff. To me, it was a split focus. And so I knew that, accessories has been a long time love for me. So what does that look like now as an adult? And how do we offer customization for people that doesn't cost anything extra? Sight unseen. Like, they're able to design their own earrings within 30 minutes, take them home same day and ready to wear that night. You don't pay extra for it. There's no design fees. You can't really get that anywhere else.
True.
So yeah, it just continuing to offer services or products or aspects to people that allows them to 100% express themselves and feel confident for an event or whatever it is that's going on just in life.
So basically what I'm hearing is a really strong identity for the product and the brand. And with that identity comes, and correct me if I'm wrong, you found the perfect location for where the targeting for that market exists.
Yes.
You say they went hand in hand in this case.
Yeah.
So you had a very strong persona for who would buy this sort of product before you selected where you would be location-wise.
Yeah. So moving locations from Sewickley, there was a good amount of fear there, like going out on my own, having all the expenses on my own, trying to not, as my dad would say, gosh, he used a ski analogy, and now I can't remember, kind of leaning over the tips of your skis, right? Like, for anyone who skis out there, like, you lean a little too far forward and you're just going to face plant and flip over. So I've done that before. It's not fun. So did not want to do that in business. And, understanding what truly like the business was able to afford from a rent standpoint. And then what does my realtor Paige, she was amazing. What's the retail spend in the areas that I was looking at? And what is the general like demographics of the area? So like for Lawrenceville, I mean, it's the largest city neighborhood in Pittsburgh. It's a really strong small business neighborhood. There's about, I think 12,000 residents proper in Lawrenceville now, and growing with all the development that's popping up. And I think the stats are like 50% of the people that actually live here are not from Pittsburgh and or Pennsylvania. So there are tons of transplants, and there's about a 50% turnover in the population every 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And there's like, it's a destination here in and of itself in the city that we need to get a little bit better at marketing as like a business district, which is something many of us business owners are aware of. But it's a destination for people all over the city, and then people that are visiting here too, just coming to visit. So
were you able to look at any of the stats like discretionary spending or anything like that? Would you say your decision making was mostly based on a lot of planning and less of a gut feel?
Part of it was gut feel. Part of it was looking at the actual hard numbers, talking with other businesses in the area. And then it's a gut feel. Like for me, just stupid little things. Like this is going to sound ridiculous. I have a thing for the number 4. It is always been a favorite number for me, and the actual building number happens to be 4,400.
Oh, okay.
So I like
It's your
funny.
good luck number.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, oh my gosh, like it's fours. And like, I mean, down to the point of where like all of my products, like any of the retail sales number, they end in a 4. Like now I sound completely crazy and OCD, but anyways, like that's just, it's the 4s for me. It's the 4s. So yeah, it's a great area of the neighborhood, just where it's at in between the 40th Street Bridge and all of the development that is, up and coming here in the area too. It's, Lawrenceville's gotten a glow up over the last like 10 years, thanks to a lot of federal funding, which has kind of run its course, because now it's like, okay, like you guys can kind of sustain and, do your own thing now. And they're obviously focusing federal dollars and state dollars on other areas that need more attention in the city. So yeah, it's been a great place to come to and be here over the last year and a half and be a part of the growth. I'm invested as a business owner.
This goal is for the next 12 months.
Okay. 12 months. 12 months plus. I'm going to give you a little
12 months plus.
So 12 months, like want to hire at least a few employees. So either like scaling up to full-time, obviously starting with part-time. We are launching wholesale. Like that's part of what like is going to take my time and attention to launch wholesale.
You do currently have a few retailer partners. Wolf and Badger, for example?
Yeah, so I'm currently featured on Wolf and Badger as one of their designers. So Wolf and Badger is an online designer platform. It has given me great like presence and reach within their platform to reach people. Gosh, I mean, we've shipped a ton to the UK, Japan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, like
wow.
Switzerland. Yeah. Cool places. Like it's exciting. So that's been really fun. There's a potential to do like an in-store with them. So, I'm not at the point in time right now where I'm looking to pay more, not looking to take on more overhead. So
What locations do they have?
So they have London, they have LA and New York.
The fashion centers.
Yeah. Which they've pitched me on New York and LA, but I quite frankly would be most interested in London. That's been a very, just again, look, if we're looking at the data, if we're looking at the hard numbers, I don't have a ton of people ordering from LA, oddly enough, although one might think, right? Just, it fits the vibe. But again, that's where you go back to the numbers to start to make those decisions.
Yeah. I do think LA is more of a streetwear kind of vibe, whereas London is more your unique kind of standing out,
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, hey, I'll hand deliver things to London. Like,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, so that would be on the horizon. And then, this would be more than a 12-month, but looking at potentially like franchising the business and or like multiple locations. Like, what does it look like? So,
and that means figuring out how to franchise your entire creation process and the customization.
Yes. So it's bringing me back to kind of my corporate, how do I duplicate myself? Like, how do I make this process duplicatable? And you're not so specific that somebody else can't do it.
Right.
And then, so it's from the top down, like it's a very specific person to bring on for a sales associate. There's a specific vibe and energy in the store. It's, positive vibes only, like it's uplifting, it's bright and colorful in here. And so the types of people that we would partner with, if it's like a store manager and opening multiple locations, or if it's a franchise model, those franchise partners, it would look very different than a typical franchise in my mind. I will just say that. So
you'd want to let those different stores creative touches to come through. Yes. Like if there was a specific artistic flair to a Philadelphia location, right, or an Atlanta or something,
Charleston, Miami,
a Hilton Head, yeah, their own thing going.
Yeah. So because you want to honor the brands, but you also want to honor the area that it's in, and the history and the culture and the type of people, and then whomever is going to be, say, like the franchisee or store manager, store leader, whatever. Like, I want to honor what those people bring to the table, all the way down to like a sales associate. You know what I mean? It goes back to those core traits that somebody brings to the table that makes them who they are and allow them to shine in the areas that they're best at. So
You're going to have a very interesting franchise culture, to
yes.
say the least, that you're going to be drawing up.
I know. I don't look like, my thing is like, we spend so much of our lives, whether or not anybody tells us we like have to do something, but like following these societal norms that everyone is spending so much time trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Where this isn't a place you have to come to fit in, which is
You
again
just
where which is where that customization comes into play. It's like, I don't drop whatever it is you think somebody's telling you that you have to be. Like, come as you are. So that is a huge piece of the brand, you know, something that is important in just customer interaction, but also for like each person to own who they are. And, you know, it's a journey for all of us. We're all allowed to change and be better. We're perfectly imperfect, but yeah, like judgment free, come as you are. And yeah, I'm excited about it.
Given that these are big plans,
Hearing you, you're sweating a little over there, huh?
yes. How do you and how would you prioritize your time and focus on tasks, responsibilities, balancing work and personal life? We can probably assume you currently don't have a personal life at the moment.
Oh, what gave it away?
Let me guess.
I know. I mean, it's I love what I'm doing, almost like to a detriment, you know what I mean? I put a lot of time and energy into it where I forsake a bit more of that like personal time. But first and foremost, like I'll give myself downtime. Like I have a hard like computer shut, like try not to open up the computer on Saturday. Like Saturdays are meant to be fun in the store. Saturday nights, I'm definitely not on the computer. If I don't go out to like hang out with friends or grab like dinner or a drink or something, I'm resting. Like I need to rest. Although I'm a very energetic, high energy extrovert, I was overserved on human interaction. So like I went home, I think I slept for 10 hours from like Saturday night to Sunday morning and like still got up and like I did church online because I was just like, I'm not fit for being in person right now. So honestly, it comes down to listening to your body and not trying to push yourself. You know, there's a time to play, there's a time to work, there's a time to relax. And sometimes it, you know, it goes in waves and I'm just trying to honor that rather than fight it. I've spent too much time fighting to like do more and have more and, you know, FOMO, like don't miss out on this, don't miss out on that. I'm like, no, I need to rest.
It's okay to say no sometimes.
It's okay to say no. No is one of the best words in the English language. No. So yeah.
How do you handle surprises, both good and bad, and like extreme highs and extreme lows?
I get very.
You've had your fair share of those.
Yeah. Look, I'm a glass half full girl, regardless. I always look for the silver lining in things. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to see and emotionally can be, I would say more on like, well, you know, emotionally on the personal and professional side, like some things just can take a hold of you and they're a little bit harder to shake sometimes. But for me, that's where like I lean into other resources, right? Like whether it's traditional therapy or prayer or journaling or reading or, you know, a life coach. Like I've got all the things right now, like a life coach right now. So a lot of it is just like I tend to get in my own head about something sometimes where it's like, it's too much. So I need to write things down, get it out, talk them out with like key people in order to process. And for me, because I'm so future focused with it, I traditionally have been very future focused. I like consciously have to pull myself into the present of like, okay, what's happening right now? What's true? Don't play that what if game because you can like what if till the cows come home and just drive yourself crazy. You just stay in what's true and what's happening and navigate from there. So I like to play the what if game for positive situations. I don't play the what if game for negative situations. I just don't. Like I'll cross that bridge when I come to it if it ever happens. So call it naive, call it whatever, like bad stuff does happen, but I just don't live in that space. I never have.
It's a good spiral down to play the what if on the negative what ifs.
Yeah.
It's a good way to give yourself anxiety
Oh yeah, and
That
I've
may
done that.
never, it's
Yeah.
never, may never even come true. So.
Right. Yeah. And I've done that before. And look, like at the end of the day, mindset is like one of the biggest things as a business owner. Like if your mindset isn't right, it's really hard to get up in the morning and run a business for yourself, let alone and interact with customers, let alone manage people.
Let alone answer an email. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes everything,
Yeah.
simplest task, very difficult.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Shameless plug. I always ask this from the entrepreneurs that I interview. How can viewers support Closet Rehab today?
Yeah, I mean, so it can be something as simple as following us on Instagram at Get Closet Rehab, you know, liking our posts, engaging, interacting, sharing with friends who you think might be interested in our products or visiting. If you're local, coming in to visit and just say hi and, you know, happy to like have you in the store. Always like to meet new people. And then, you know, if there's something of interest that you like the products or want to come in and experience, you know, the world that is Closet Rehab, you know, you're able to purchase online 24 hours, 7 days a week at getclosetrehab.com. Or again, come in the store and experience real life.
Before we end, are there any organizations or individuals that have been helpful that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. So, one of our partners that we've worked with from a social media perspective over the last, year plus has been Beyond Boss. So she's a fantastic female founder. She started as a portrait photographer and wedding photographer. Gosh, we're like 13 years now. So her name is Caitlin Thomas. She's fantastic. So if you're looking for social media support, she also has a really great female business like mentorship program. So yeah, she's been a great resource and just confident. So yeah.
That's very cool. So that is Beyond Boss.
Yes, Beyond Boss.
Get out, everybody. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Erica. Please check out getclosetrehab.com. Follow the socials. And it's been a pleasure having you. Everybody, thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you so much.